2018. It is just after 4:00 p.m. We have a quorum. We're ready to go. Okay, we are on resolutions. RS 2018-1308 by Councilman Scott Davis. This requests that the Davidson County Sheriff, the Nashville Fire Department Chief, and the Director of Public Property Administration declare properties at 500 and 506 2nd Avenue North to be surplus upon vacancy. We have a letter from the sponsor to defer to the first meeting in October. Okay, so I have a motion to defer and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. RS 2018-1319 by Councilman Kendall, Schulman, and Vercher. Appropriates $551,051.45 in community development block grant funds for sidewalk improvements in North Nashville. Do I have a motion? Motion and a properly seconded. Any discussion? Mr. Glover, there you are.
Thank you, Chair. Just very quickly, I'm trying to get the analysis up right now. Where's the $551,000 coming from on this? I read the analysis, but I can't get it back on my computer right now for some reason.
Administration or Mr. Jamison?
It's federal funding. These were allocated to the individual departments in the last 2 fiscal years, and essentially we are allocating them to those departments essentially as pass-through.
Okay. So did it specifically say it had to be in a given council district, or did some of us just miss the boat and not understand how to maybe get some things done in our districts as well?
Ms. Hubbard from MDHA, I believe, can.
Okay.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Angie Hubbard, Director of Community Development at MDHA. So this is funded with the community block grant funds that we administer on behalf of the city. We have targeted in our consolidated plan that just expired, we had targeted CDBG funds for infrastructure projects in certain very, very low income census tracts in Davidson County. That is only where we can use funds for infrastructure projects. North Nashville had been identified as the first priority neighborhood, and that had been vetted through several years of public hearings and public comments. So we sat down with Public Works to identify an area within our budget of North Nashville that needed some sidewalks to complete connections. So that's how that area was determined.
Okay, so Chair, I just want, is there anything that we missed reading as district council members that would have made us aware of this being available to where we could have perhaps lobbied on behalf of our constituents, the people who elect us? I don't know I don't know what the answer is, but I would like to know, is it a yes or no?
And Councilman Glover, I don't know. I'm looking back to Ms. Hubbard. Is there anything that you can help address?
Again, we can only use these funds in certain districts that are very low income. That's in our consolidated plan that has been before you every year. So that is the opportunity for council members to look in those plans and see what can be utilized in their districts. And in this one, when we did the plan in 2013, we identified North Nashville specifically, but every year we've come forth with a plan that has those geographic priorities in there, so that would have been up for you to review.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other questions? Seeing none, we are on the motion to approve. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. RS 2018-1320 by O'Connell, Schulman, Vercher, and Withers authorizes the Metro Development and Housing Agency to enter into a pilot agreement and accept payments in lieu of ad valorem taxes with respect to a multifamily housing project located at 1427 Lebanon Pike. Do I have a motion? Motion and properly seconded. Councilman O'Connell, anything?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the recognition. This one is for an existing property. I've been out to the site, talked with the current owner, talked with the incoming team, and it's hard for me to see this as anything but upside. Honestly, it accomplishes a goal of long-term affordable housing in an area that is emerging and will probably need affordable housing more and more. It's going to result in a significant private investment in a property that has probably needed one for some time and should actually increase the occupancy rate that would be possible at that site. So I am in favor.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Glover.
That's
From before. Okay. Councilman Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And really just a couple of questions for MDHA on this, being a good opportunity to talk about affordable housing. I see Mr. Kane. Thank you. Now, the pilot, the need for the pilot, of course, is to make whole the tax credits being offered by the state, in effect.
Yes.
Either the 4% or the 9%. Is this 4% or is this 9% money?
This is a 4%.
This is 4% money. And then, if you didn't mind, how much 4% money and how much 9% money is awarded in Davidson County in a year? How much are we using?
I do not have those numbers. I do know the 9% credits are limited by THDA as to how many projects can get into Davidson County. I believe that limit is 3.
It's just
maximum
3 a year.
annual.
Okay. So the $1.3 million that we've awarded this year is covering how many units of pilots? Could you guesstimate how many?
I believe
units?
we've done. I believe we have had about 6 in front of Metro Council.
Right. And how many units underneath?
And I apologize for not having all those
Okay.
figures. I believe it's approximately 1,000 units.
And 1,000. So if we were to go out to the full 2.5 million, you might get another 1,000 units.
Potentially, yes,
That
sir.
would be excess, but then that would hinge on the state's willingness to give either 9% or 4% money.
That is correct, and they are running very low this fiscal year on the 4%. So
Even on the 4%.
on 4%, yes, sir.
So the chance of getting any more affordable housing starts is getting thinner for this year, even though we have pilot money available.
We may have 2 more come before you before the end of 2018. That would probably be about the maximum.
That would be the maximum. So we would end up underutilizing our affordable housing pilot for this year, probably.
It's anticipated, just like we did last year.
But again, that's based on the state's activity. Is this something that MDHA has, we have a very fine lobbyist for Metro with the state legislature, that you all possibly could kind of push our lobbying activities to get a little bit more awards from the 4 or 9% funds?
We do, because
Okay.
MDHA receives 9% awards
And our
themselves.
lobbyist is very knowledgeable about MDHA, too.
And so we are very much so attempting, because we like the 9%. It's helping us immensely with the Envision Casey process.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. And I know the council would be interested in whatever we could do to try to get more 9% money for the
Yes, sir.
county.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. We're on RS 2018-1321 by Shulman, Vercher, Bedney, and Elrod. Declares surplus and approves the disposition of certain parcels of real property. Do I have a motion? Motion and a properly seconded. Any discussion? Council Lady Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Are these partial lots, or are they, sometimes we do this just because there's no way to use the lot. Are these fit under that category, or are they full lots that are buildable, or a mix?
Council Lady, these are non-buildable lots. So we go through planning to ensure the determination that they're non-buildable. There are a lot of reasons that they'd be non-buildable, but particularly size.
Gotcha. So the building affordable housing on these particular lots is not an option.
That is not an option.
So they're more useful to the people next door to them or something like that.
We had designated buildable lots for the affordable housing program.
Great. Okay. I just wanted to check. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councilman Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And for Mr. Berry, quick question. What's the total value of all these properties? Do you have a rough approximation of what these 20 properties?
23 lots, based on the tax appraised value, which is what we would offer them at, is roughly $183,000.
Okay, so it's not going to solve our budget problems. Okay, thank you.
But we got about 80 more, so.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. RS 2018-1322 by Councilman Pridemore, Schulman, Vercher, and others authorizes the Director of Public Property to purchase flood-prone property located at 484 Canton Pass. Do I have a motion? Motion properly seconded. Councilman Pridemore, anything?
Thank you, Mr. Councilman Schulman. This property is one of many that through the years been flooded. We have someone here from Stormwater that can elaborate on that further, but it's just one of many properties that's been having some issues through the past many years, and not only during 2010 flood, but also during Madison's notorious 2 or 3 floods a year. So I'll leave to
I got it. Mr. Honeysucker?
Yes, sir. John Honeysucker, Metro Water. Yes, sir. This is one of the properties that have been deemed having quite a bit of flooding in the area. So we found a willing seller that was more than willing to contribute to selling their property at the appraised assessed value. So we felt there was an opportunity to go ahead and move forward with that.
Right. Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. RS 2018-1323 by Councilman O'Connell, Bedney, and others approves an amendment to the parking agreement between the Metro Traffic and Parking Commission and 511 Union Nashville LLC for the use of up to 100 parking spaces for a fee in the library parking garage. Do I have a motion? Motion properly seconded. Discussion. Councilman Cooper.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know quite who to address this to. Is this Metro Legal who's handling this? Public Works?
Public Works.
Oh, great. Thank you. My question is, why would we be extending a lease from 2027 to 2030? Why would we in 2018 be extending a lease for 3 years? What's the need for this?
I believe Public Works is approaching.
Sharon Wallstrom with Public Works. They are looking at leasing a portion of this building, and the lease would run the same length as the parking, so they wanted to extend the parking to make the parking match the lease inside the building.
Well, I understand how that could be advantageous to them. It freezes the rates many years from now.
It actually does not freeze the rate. The agreement is for market rate from year to year or whenever the rate changes.
So it just guarantees the availability.
Correct.
So I understand why it's an advantage to them. Why is it an advantage to us?
Because whenever they use up those parking spaces and they sign the agreement, we actually get the rate for the number of spaces that they have said they're going to claim, whether they park in them or not.
But that's 2027 to 2030.
Right. So you get an additional 3 years of however many spaces they claim.
In order to facilitate a
time.
building lease.
Right.
Okay. And why at the library and not at the Fifth Avenue parking lot?
That I cannot answer. They already have the agreement with the library, and I'm sure they just wanted to extend it in the same place that they already had the agreement.
But the library lot is very full, and we're having to build additional spaces, aren't we?
Actually, I checked on that just today, anticipating this question, and we now have 1,362 spaces in the library. We have an additional 328 spaces that we did not have before. And I checked, and they said that right now, since they've added the new spaces, they have never had to close the garage because they were full.
Right, because we have built at some cost these additional spaces.
Right, and this helps, this money coming in at a guaranteed number and quantity and rate at the market rate also helps us with our debt service payments.
But you're not getting it until 2027.
I'm getting it, well, yes, so that would give me an additional 3 years of the guarantee.
Okay, but we've already borrowed the money.
Correct, and we
Right.
have annual payments, so them remaining there and potentially not canceling the entire contract or going somewhere else does help us with that.
Okay, a final question. Who is the benefited lessee?
It is Nashville City Center.
Well, but this is for a specific sublease by Nashville City Center to a specific tenant.
That I do not know. I have not been given that information.
Okay. Would you be able to, would you share that with us?
I can go back and try to find out. Yes, sir.
Okay. Because again, I think that's important to know who the benefited party is to straighten out these leases. I'd appreciate if you could do that before the vote tomorrow night.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other questions? Seeing none, we are on 2018-1323. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. RS 2018-1324 by Councilman Shulman and Vercher authorizes the Metro Department of Law to compromise and settle the personal injury claim of John Bates against Metro government in the amount of $20,000. Do I have a motion? So I have a motion properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. RS 2018-1326 by Shulman and Vercher authorizes the Metro Department of Law.
Go ahead. They got out of order.
Yeah, 1325 is on the next page. All right, so since I haven't said anything, I'm going to go to RS 2018-1325 by Shulman and Vercher, authorizes the Metro Department of Law to compromise and settle the personal injury claim of Paul H. Lacey against Metro government in the amount of $17,500. Do I have a motion? Properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. Okay, we are on RS 2018-1326. Shulman and Vercher authorizes the Metro Department of Law to compromise and settle the personal injury claim of LaTanya Flanoy against the Metro government in the amount of $20,000. Do I have a motion? Properly moved, and I have a proper second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. RS 2018-1327 by Shulman and Vercher authorizes the Metro Department of Law to compromise and settle the personal injury claim of Terry White against Metro in the amount of $100,000. Do I have a motion? Moved, properly seconded. Mr. Glover.
Thank you, Chair. All right, so where are we sitting as far as our funds? Because and I'm not sure who to answer this, perhaps Attorney Cooper is the right one. Where are we on our funds to fund and pay for all of these settlements that we've been doing?
The self-insured liability fund after this appropriation and the previous appropriations would be about $4.5 million.
Okay, and where were we, let's just say 2-3 years ago, before we actually had a great economic time in Nashville?
I don't know the answer to that, but I can try and get those balances for you.
Okay. Did we build additional money into the budget for the law department for the self-insured for this year?
No. Typically, there was an annual appropriation of roughly $2 million, and that was not made due to budgetary reasons this year. Right.
So what's the forecast, I guess, is maybe the question I'm asking of, because 100,000 here, 10,000, 20,000, all of that, I mean, 4.5 million may not last that long.
My recollection is that we typically spend around $2 million a year. And so if you're not adding money to it, you're depleting those reserves. So if that held true for the next few years, then it would run out of money.
Okay, and what is the obligation on behalf of the council to fund that particular? I'll call it just the self-insured legal fund, whatever.
There's no legal obligation to fund it at a certain level, but obviously when things happen, we have to pay for the damages that are caused by employee mistakes and accidents and things like that. So there's no minimum level, but Metro would have to come up with money to pay our liabilities.
Okay, and so just projecting out, realizing the state we're in with regards to our finances in the city, realizing that we did not give additional money to the fund this year, I'd be, I think I'd be foolish to think that we're going to be able to do it next year, given the obligations we already have. So we roughly have about a 2-year cash flow for this. When we run out of that, at what point does the red light come on and say, all right, we've got to start dealing with this and accommodating it?
Well, we have an audit every year. It's a third party does an assessment of our outstanding liabilities, both for self-insured and the Judgment and Losses Fund, and they recommend a level of funding, an actuarial-based level of funding, and then it's up to Metro and the council to fund it at that level or not. But that is just a guidance document, not a mandate.
Okay, so should we be concerned, those of us in this chamber right now, should we be concerned that we haven't funded it this year? We didn't put additional money into it, but yet we know that cash flow is going to continue flowing out of the account.
We believe we have adequate coverage for this fiscal year, so there shouldn't be an impact, but going forward, if it carried on.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons I'm asking the question is because this year, yeah, we're where we are. I think that's our problem. We're not looking forward enough on things, so that's why I was asking the question. Not necessarily put you on the spot, but I think people need to understand that we're not a cash cow in Nashville. So, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, we are on RS 2018-1327. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. RS 2018-1328 by Shulman, Vercher, and Sledge. This issues general obligation bonds of Metro government in an aggregate principal amount of not to exceed $15 million. Do I have a motion? Move. And properly seconded. I'm going to turn to Councilman Sledge on this one.
Thank you, Vice Chair. In accordance with this is part of the whole package we've been discussing with the fairgrounds, so I would ask the committee to recommend deferral to the first meeting in September, please.
Okay, so we have a motion properly seconded to defer again until which meeting?
The first meeting in September.
First meeting in September. Okay. Okay, I've got people in the queue. Councilman Glover.
I was going to ask us to wait also. I don't know that the first meeting in September is the proper time because I think we've got a lot of other things that we have to deal with prior to this particular piece of legislation. I'd like a timeline from the administration, please, on when this deal started at the fairgrounds, the stadium, all the various things about this. When did the conversation begin? And how long has this been being worked on with the administration and the MLS group?
Somebody from the administration able to speak to that?
Councilman, we'll have to go back and put all that together, and then we're happy to get back with you.
Okay, well, let me give you one answer that I already know. August 17th, 2017, when you guys spoke to the Sports Authority, and you basically declared at that point that the fairgrounds was where the stadium and all the other stuff was going to go. The reason I'm bringing this up, and I'm glad we've deferred this, quite frankly, but the reason I'm bringing it up is because we asked a lot of questions this past Friday, and we didn't get answers, and we're waiting on it, et cetera. But this is just another example of where we have a very short time frame to try and make a decision. And so therefore, my resolution's coming up here in just a minute for us to slow down. And so therefore, I think it's important for everybody to understand this didn't just happen overnight. This is something that's been going on for a while. And frankly, as I said Friday night, I don't appreciate this short amount of time that we have to make a decision upon, especially when we're using this amount of tax dollars and taking money out of the taxpayers' pockets to pay for these things. when we weren't able to accommodate and actually pay for the cost of living adjustment, all the other debt service and everything else. So I'm glad it's being deferred, but I really want us to look at the timeline, and I'd really like to know just how long this has been being worked on, and why is it such a pain for us to get questions that we've been asking. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Mendez.
I just wanted to make sure that it's being deferred and re-referred to the committee.
It's not an actual motion, that was called a suggestion.
Yeah, go back to Councilman Sledge.
I'm happy to. Do I need to amend my motion, Mike?
Yeah, you need to.
I'm happy to do so. I'd like to amend my motion to defer to the first meeting in September and re-refer to the Budget and Finance Committee.
Okay, so properly seconded. All right, so let me make sure I got the motion right. We are deferring this to the first meeting in September, and it will be re-referred back to the Budget Committee for further discussion. Okay, that's what we're voting on. Any other discussion? Seeing none. All right, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. We have deferred to the first meeting in September. All right, RS 2018-1329, Shulman and Vercher appropriates $200,000 from the juvenile court to various nonprofit organizations selected to receive community partnership fund grants. Do I have a motion? Got a motion, properly seconded. Any discussion? Council Lady Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just one general question. We go through this during the budget season, and then we sort of forget about all the criteria that we talked about. Is there someone that can give me a copy of kind of a general rubric that is used by all the departments? When we're about to go through, I think, 5 of these allocations, which I think are great. I'm pleased that we're doing this, and it sure makes sense to have the departments that know the subject well to be divvying them up. Is there a possibility to get a copy sort of what that looks like? And then next year, as we approach the budget season, that could also be used for the direct allocation stuff. Mr. Kelsey.
Each department ran its own competitive process for the CPF this year and posted all of that material online.
Which you sent me copies of.
I did. And so I think all the coordinators are here, and I'm sure they'd be happy to follow up and send anybody copies if they've been taken down off the websites. But yeah, we can surely incorporate it in any way you guys would wish next year as well.
Okay. All right. Appreciate that. Thank you.
I'm just glad somebody used the word rubric in the discussion. Anybody else got any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. RS 2018-1330, Shulman and Vercher appropriates $200,000 from the Office of Family Safety to various nonprofit organizations selected to receive community partnership fund grants. Do I have a motion? Got a motion, properly second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. 2018-1331 by Shulman and Vercher appropriate $200,000 from the Nashville Public Library to various nonprofit organizations selected to receive community partnership fund grants. Do I have a motion? Got a motion, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. RS 2018-1332 by Shulman and Vercher appropriates $200,000 from the Metro Public Health Department to various nonprofit organizations selected to receive community partnership fund grants. Do I have a motion? Properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. RS 2018-1333, Shulman and Vercher appropriates $200,000 from Metro Social Services to various nonprofit organizations selected to receive community partnership fund grants. Do I have a motion? Got a motion, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. RS 2018-1334 by Shulman and Vercher approves a grant from Oasis Center, Inc. to the Davidson County Juvenile Court for the implementation of the Wyman's Teen Outreach Program as part of probation services to decrease risky behaviors and increase life skills among youth. Do I have a motion? Properly moved, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. RS 2018-1335 by Shulman, Vercher, and Roberts approves an interlocal agreement between the Emergency Communications District for services and reimbursement of costs pertaining to enhanced 911 services. Do I have a motion? Got a proper motion, proper second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. RS 2018-1336, Shulman, Vercher, and Roberts approves the Edward and Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant for the U.S. Department of Justice to the Metro Nashville Police Department for technology upgrades, supplies for direct support to basic police, in-service, and specialized training. Do I have a motion? Proper motion, proper second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. RS 2018-1337, Shulman, Vercher, and Roberts approves a contract between the Metro Government and Integraph Corporation to provide ongoing support and maintenance for the Integrated Advanced Records Management System in Pursuit Records Management System. Do I have a motion? Proper motion, proper second. Any discussion? Councilor Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wondered if somebody could explain in very general terms what this is.
Have somebody from the administration or from, looks like from the police department.
Good evening. I'm Captain Gilder, Metro Police Department. So this is the extension of a system we already have in place. It's our automated records management system. So when police officers take reports, they don't typically fill out paper reports anymore. It's all automated. And this is the computer program that we use to draft those reports, send them to the supervisor, and store them in records.
So that's the one that's in the squad car?
Yes, ma'am.
With them? Okay, great. Yep. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Council Lady. Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of the resolution say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. RS 2018-1338, Shulman, Vercher, Roberts, and Withers approves a contract between Metro Government and Infor, Inc. to provide maintenance and support of workforce, time, and attendance software for the Metro Nashville Police Department. Do I have a motion? Got a motion properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. RS 2018-1340, Shulman, Vercher, and Gilmore approves a grant from the Tennessee Department of Health to the Metro Board of Health to promote the proper use of all recommended vaccines and respond to vaccine-preventable diseases in collaboration with the CDC and other partners. Do I have a motion? I have a motion and a proper second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. RS 2018-1341 by Shulman, Vercher, and Gilmore approves a grant from the Tennessee Department of Health to the Metro Board of Health to provide an array of programs and direct patient care services to meet the public health needs of Tennessee's citizens. Do I have a motion? Got a proper motion and a proper second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. Resolution 2018-1342 by Shulman, Vercher, and Gilmore approves a grant from the Tennessee Department of Health to the Metro Board of Health for the Healthy Start Home Visiting Program to identify and provide comprehensive services to improve outcomes for eligible families who reside in at-risk communities. Do I have a motion? Proper motion, proper second. Council Lady Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just another question about if we can get a little bit more detail about what those services and what those outcomes are.
Thank you, Council Lady.
Good evening, Dr. Sonmi Areola, the Deputy Director for the Health Department. It's a program we've had for a long time, and there are several factors that impact the health of our citizens. And so this is a program that really visits people, look at the social, economic determinants that's affecting their health, and looking for opportunities to ensure that they attain the best health that they can. So we go into the homes, we evaluate, we talk to them, we look at what's going on and how we can assist. Those are upstream factors that we use to enhance health there.
Okay, we're good? All right. Any other questions from council members? Seeing none, we are on RS 2018-1343. Is that right?
42.
42, excuse me, 1342. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. RS 2018-1343 by Schulman, Vercher, and Gilmore approves an amendment to a grant from the Tennessee Department of Health to the Metro Board of Health to ensure federal preparedness funds are directed to Tennessee regional and metro emergency preparedness programs to prepare, respond to, and recover from public health threats. Do I have a motion? Motion, proper second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. RS 2018-1344 by Schulman, Vercher, and Gilmore approves Amendment B to a grant from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency to the Metro Board of Health to fund an ongoing program to protect air quality to achieve established ambient air standards and protect human health. Do I have a motion? Proper motion, proper second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. RS 2018-1345 by Schulman, Vercher, Gilmore, and Allen approves an amendment to a contract between the Metro Board of Health and Vanderbilt University School of Medicine to participate as a member site in the CDC Tuberculosis Trial Consortium studies. Do I have a motion? Got a proper motion, proper second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. RS 2018-1352 by Schulman and Vercher approves a contract between the Metro government and Kronos, Inc. to provide time and attendance and advanced scheduling software, hosting, equipment, and technical support. Do I have a motion? Got a motion and a proper second. Councilman Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of questions. On the software, a note that the fiscal note says the estimated value of the contract over a 2-year term is $10 million. If somebody would foot that amount of money back to this.
Councilman Michelle Hernandez-Lane, Chief Procurement Officer. The fiscal note that you're looking at is actually for the entire potential life of the contract. The contract initial term is for 2 years. The potential life is 5 years, so that $10 million is for that period. So you would prorate that $2 million per year.
I'm sorry, so the 5-year, this is a $2 million a year contract?
It is, but the way that the contract is written, it is for an initial term of 2 years with options to potentially renew for 3 additional years. So what we've presented to you is what the full fiscal picture would be or could be.
Okay. For such a large contract, would you mind spending some time on the advantages to Metro of this contract?
I'm also going to, if I can, invite someone from our Information Technology Services Department. But my understanding, based upon what was presented to me as the purchasing agent, is that we currently use Kronos for a number of departments to provide them with time and attendance services. And there is a significant cost that ITS can speak to in more detail to moving that service to something else. But there is a great benefit in terms of, the services that we receive from Kronos. And I'll turn it over to Ms. Dawn Clark, who can talk to it a little more.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, we currently have, this is the enterprise-wide solution for time and attendance and advanced scheduling. We currently have it implemented in a total of 12 departments on the general government side, and we're partially implemented for schools, and schools is going to be rolling it out to their entire employee base. So we procured the licenses, a total of 18,000 licenses with a volume discount, and have been rolling out the implementations over a period of time. So essentially, this contract sole source is the support and maintenance of the licenses that we already own, implementations of these future rollouts to additional departments and the remainder of schools, employees, as well as additional time clocks when those are needed. We have a total of 520 time clocks currently in use across Metro-wide, and then Fire uses Telestaff, which is an advanced scheduling, which actually predated us bringing in Kronos for the rest of the general government, but Telestaff was bought out by Kronos a couple years ago. So that's what we're using it for. Is there's a lot of benefits, and we get the volume discounts and the support maintenance now.
So picking, then, it feels like a proprietary product with Kronos. We then are kind of stuck with them so that it becomes a sole source provided contract. Having made that choice, we're now in a sole source world?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any idea about what the cost would be of any alternatives?
Well, if you went to an alternative, you'd have to buy all new licenses, and you'd have to re-implement all these departments that are already implemented. So, I mean, that's why we already own these licenses. So we're only paying support and maintenance on them, and then implementation costs as we roll out to additional departments.
Okay. So what will be the life cycle cost of this Kronos contract from beginning, from buying the first license all the way through these 5 years? What do we think that cost would be to Metro?
Well, we've been with Kronos for 5 years at this point.
We've been paying them $2 million a year for 5 years at this point?
Not necessarily. That's what the projection was from this point forward. So, I mean, we had implementation costs up front that were kind of one time, and the purchase of the licenses were one time, because we already own them at this point. So I'd have to go back and get you those figures, because we've been on contract with them for 5 years at this point.
Well, I appreciate your work. My question is it getting cheaper, or is it getting more expensive?
No, it's definitely cheaper.
It has been getting cheaper.
Yeah, because we're just paying the support at this point. We had the volume discount up front to purchase the license, and then we've been rolling out, and we've just been paying the annual support and maintenance, which is just a percentage of the original license cost.
Well, I would be grateful, if you didn't mind, what the Kronos vendor relationship has cost Metro, because if it's getting cheaper and it's a $10 million 5-year life, then is this more? Sounds like you're saying that it's more than a $20 million relationship with Kronos. If it's getting cheaper in the next 5 or 10 million, so the previous 5 must have been more than 10 million. Just to put some metrics on the size of the contract would be useful. I'd be grateful.
Sure, I'll be glad to send it.
And then this is a finance department expense? This, in terms of Metro expenses, it's finance?
No.
It's all booked through IT?
Yeah, it's enterprise-wide. Actually, the schools portion, which is more than 60% of the total cost, is direct billed to schools. The general government portion is billed enterprise-wide through ITS and then allocated out through the rate model based on, the number of employees.
But you will be reimbursed by schools for the schools portion of this?
They actually pay it directly.
They actually pay it directly. So that's in addition.
We manage it, yeah, and we create a
that's part of the total? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm grateful. Again, it's a large contract, sole source. I appreciate your effort in making sure we're prudent about this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Councilman Glover.
Thank you, Chair. Well, I would like to kind of expand on the question that Councilman Cooper was asking, and maybe I'll just try to simplify this. How much money has the city saved by implementing this particular contract? What's the actual savings to the taxpayers on utilizing this particular piece of software, whatever it's called, for the timekeeping, et cetera?
I'm not sure that I can substantiate that, because at the point that more than 5 years ago that we decided to, enter into an enterprise-wide solution, we had several departments that already had a solution, and we had several that were looking to go out to get their own solution. And so the decision was made with finance, HR, and ITS, as well as with schools, that it was in our best interest to get the volume discount enterprise-wide, establish this as the enterprise-wide solution, as opposed to, every department potentially going out and getting their own solution. So, because, those departments didn't go out and get their own solution after that point, I don't know that I can substantiate, the savings because we purchased the volume discount at that point. So I don't know how to.
So I suppose, Chair, because I remember the conversation we had 5 or 6 years ago on this particular piece of software, and I don't think schools, if I remember correctly, schools didn't jump in at that point. If I can direct that question to the back of the room again, please, Chair.
Sure.
I think you're correct. I mean, when we first entered into kind of the discussions of establishing an enterprise-wide solution, particularly, we had been working with Kronos through Hospital Authority at the time, and they were already integrated with our EBS system, and so we started having discussions about, because there were some people that were going out to potential RFPs, and procurement came to us and said, hey, do you want to look into this? So we started looking into it first, and then in what we were working with schools on, the ABS, we knew that they had a need for it. So we kind of looped them into some early demos, and then they expressed a lot of interest in it. And so we, by the time that we pulled together that initial contract, we had included schools in the scope, and we had also included fire and the telestaff system in the scope and an umbrella of that contract. So I think you're right. That was a few years ago, but I don't believe they were in that very first discussions, but they quickly expressed interest, and we looped them in pretty early on.
Okay. So the reason I bring the question up is because it would seem to me at this point, for doing the additional money, call me crazy, but I think that we should have somewhat of an understanding on what the savings are that we're realizing. If we're going to spend $10 million, if we kept it the way it was, if we did whatever we were doing in the past, would we end up having to spend $20 million, or what are the savings? I think I understand the purpose of the software, but I think it's been around for 5 years. I think it's a pretty simple question in asking, okay, what kind of savings has the city received? So, Chair, for myself, I really think that it would be a good answer to a very logical question, in my opinion, that I would like for us to have. I'm not saying it's a bad idea to do it, simply saying that why are we spending $10 million if we don't understand what the savings have been, will be, and the additional potential savings going forward. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilman. Are you asking for something specific? Or?
Yeah, I'd like to know, can they tell us what kind of savings the city is realizing by going ahead and extending this contract and us utilizing it?
All right. Ms. Lomax, I believe you can answer that question.
I may be able to help you just a little bit with that because I don't know if there's a one-to-one correlation in terms of the savings amounts. But at the time when we went to Kronos, and we did go through a competitive process to select Kronos as the provider. Is that correct, Dawn?
We did a piggyback off of the Hospital Authority.
We used the Hospital Authority. But at the time when we chose Kronos, I had at least 5 or 6 different Metro departments that were coming to Metro Finance saying that they needed a solution for time and attendance. And each of those departments had a capital spending request that was before the administration to consider. So instead of having 5 or 6 different capital allocations that were going to be done, 5 or 6 different implementations, all of that being tied in with the enterprise payroll system, we probably would have spent at that time 4 or 5, I'm looking at Dawn, 4 or 5 times the amount that we spent on implementing Kronos because we picked an enterprise solution that could meet the needs of all of those departments.
Okay.
So in terms of, I mean, it would probably take some real digging to go back and look at all those individual requests, but we had many departments identifying an immediate need. I mean, it had gotten to the point where it was at critical mass in terms of from the departments asking for a solution. So there probably have been some efficiencies identified in some departments, maybe around their payroll clerks, but departments don't have a lot of payroll staff in their departments either. So it wouldn't have been significant operational savings in those departments' budgets. I think simply staff was overwhelmed with the amount of work that was coming in their direction, and they were looking for relief through a technical solution. And Kronos was intended to fulfill that need. Did I get all that right, Dawn?
Correct.
Thank you.
So I think the question I ask is legitimate. If it was going to cost X to do it the way we were doing it, I mean, I just don't.
We would have
Look,
to go
we're
back
in critical mass in a lot of areas in the city as far as paying our bills and all the other things. But I just wonder, because it appears, and Councilman Cooper, I certainly don't want to paraphrase what you said, but we basically have boiled ourselves into a corner on a sole source contract now, the way I'm hearing it, unless I'm missing something.
I mean, Dawn's best position to take that question.
Well, I mean, like I said, I mean, we're just paying the support now. It's just support and maintenance. We already own the licenses. So, I mean, if by that you mean we're in a corner, I mean, I don't consider that to be a corner because it is a, you know, Kronos is one of the leading time and attendance systems. It's enterprise-wide. It's fully integrated into and out of our EBS system. And, you know, and all the departments that have come to us that wanted to implement it, we've been able to provide that because we still have some licenses to implement. So.
Councilman, I would like to add, I mean, we can go back and look 4 or 5 years ago to see if we could find the list of all of those individual capital requests that were made and see if we can locate that. I mean, time has passed, but we can try to pull that for you.
I just think, I think that while we're looking at every aspect and we're trying to understand where we are financially in the city, I'm not saying this is a bad deal. I mean, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, okay, if this is a good deal, why is it a good deal, and how much money are we saving? As opposed to, you know, because I think if I go back and if I remember correctly, I supported us moving in this direction. So I'm not quite, but 5 years into it, I would just think we would have an idea of what has been the benefit to the metropolitan government, ultimately the taxpayers in Nashville. Thank you, Chair.
I think that's fair, and I'll work with Dawn to see if we can send you some type of document back to you, okay?
All right. Councilman Mendez.
Thanks. And Ms. Lomax, I mean, when you do that, I just want to mention, so like in the audit committee, I know there's still regularly for the smaller departments, get an audit finding that they don't have payroll timekeeping, and typically the smaller departments are being told, or their response to the audit finding is to wait until they can get added to Kronos because that's the most cost-effective way to do it. And there's going to be some soft costs that are going to, I think, be our soft savings that are going to be hard to articulate that I think I would suggest to include with the numbers that you dig up, like one, we keep track of overtime better, more accurately, and whether somebody qualifies for overtime or not, and that I think is believed to be a savings. But might be hard to quantify how much overtime is saved over the course of many years, and there might be some other soft savings that are hard to measure. You know, all these smaller departments have been getting audit findings for the last several years. You know, I don't know how you calculate what the savings is to implement Kronos as opposed to some other solution. I
agree, and I really do appreciate you bringing that up because that has been consistent theme where departments are wanting to come on to Kronos. And I mean, we could always bid it out, but we would be looking at additional capital cost and going through another kind of procurement process to select a different product. So if nothing else, we'd need a transition time. Is that right, Dawn?
Oh,
to roll
definitely.
out a product of that magnitude.
Thanks. I mean, I do agree with the idea of, even if it's rough numbers and it has to be put together, clearly the idea was there was going to be a savings, and testing to see whether that's so it makes sense. But I think it is also important to figure out what the soft savings are also.
Okay. Thank you, Councilman. Any other questions? Thank you for the good discussion. We are on RS 2018-1352. Seeing nobody else in the queue. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. Just for the record, I will tell you that I wrote down that Councilman Glover said, "Call me crazy." So from now on, I will call you crazy. All right? You're welcome. All right, we're on RS 2018-1353, Shulman, Virtue, and Withers approves an amendment to a grant from the Tennessee Department of Labor and Workforce Development to the Nashville Career Advancement Center to establish programs to prepare adult service recipients for employment. Do I have a motion? A motion properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. RS 2018-1354, Shulman, Virtue, and Withers approves an amendment to a grant from the Tennessee Department of Labor to the Nashville Career Advancement Center to establish programs to prepare and carry out adult services to benefit service recipients. Do I have a motion? Motion, proper second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. RS 2018-1355, Shulman, Virtue, and Elrod approves an application for a waste reduction grant from the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation to the Metro Public Works Department to purchase trucks for Nashville's curbside recycling expansion. Do I have a motion? Proper motion, proper second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. We're in our RS 2018-1356 by Councilman Glover expresses the intention of the Metro Council to suspend action on any agreement related to any lease and redevelopment of the Nashville Fairgrounds until all necessary procedures have been completed. Do I have a motion? Motion, proper second. We are on discussion. Councilman Glover.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Jamison, just very quickly, this is a non-binding resolution, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so this is merely a flashlight to kind of guide us to say, hey, look, we might want to slow ourselves down a little bit to understand what it is we're doing here. Obviously, when I first introduced the concept of this, it was before the commissions and everything else had voted. We've all watched. We've seen what's happened. It happened exactly like we thought it would. It was unanimous, and they've approved it. It's now come into the council chambers. We had a very long discussion in excess of, 3 hours Friday, to where we asked a lot of questions. And I mean, there is going to be a point where we need the answers to digest and understand where we are with this, what the actual cost is, what are the benefits. There may be benefits, there may not be. I don't know. But this is just a guideline saying, guys, let's make sure we do our job on this floor, because this is not a 1 or 2 year deal that we're talking about. This is a century deal that we're talking about. And so therefore, I don't think it hurts us to be thorough with the questions that we ask and how we proceed with it. But I do want to emphasize, it's not binding. I wished it was, but it's not. But it hopefully will give us a guideline to say, all right, let's just make sure we're thorough with what we do. So I would ask you to vote adoption of this. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Sledge.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I understand the intent of doing having a resolution that we need to do a good job. I think we can do a good job without the resolution. I'd like to ask legal, if that's possible, to kind of give a sense of, as far as process left, what processes are we waiting on that are extra counsel, I guess I should say.
Well, as it relates to Metro expenditures, Metro has not paid any money for any design costs that have been done. That's all being fronted by the MLS team. The Sports Authority did authorize, I think, up to $75,000 for our due diligence and for, implementation of the master plan and that kind of thing. I can find out exactly how much has been billed to that. But as far as process, I mean, the only thing left to do is the council approval and then the Sports Authority issuing the revenue bonds if the council approves the legislation.
Okay, so, and to my knowledge, as far as different commissions and boards and such that have been involved in this process so far, whether it was improvements from the improvements plan or, directly stadium related, who all has kind of gone through boards and commissions wise who've taken votes on this, I guess just
the Fair Board has approved the ground lease. They will be, the ground lease for the stadium. They will be considering the ground lease for the private development and an operational agreement with the team at their meeting next week. The Sports Authority has approved all of the necessary agreements. The only thing they have left to do is the issuance of the bonds, and the Planning Commission has approved the private development portion.
Okay, so just Chair and council members, I just ask, I think we know what state this in. It is in, it is in our chamber now, and we're going to take up, potentially the first vote tomorrow. I would just ask that, we continue the work that we're doing, and I don't see a need for this resolution. I'd ask that you vote against it.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Mendez.
Mr. Jameson, I know I should be able to remember this from a meeting or two ago, but this the current language is a little bit different than what the original language was to this, if I'm remembering right. And I guess the follow-up question is, even if this were binding, does this add any new requirements?
It does not.
Excuse me?
It does not.
Okay. Because I read it as saying Metro doesn't incur any money until the required process to declare property surplus has been satisfied, and the council's provided the approvals required in the substitute resolution 2017-910 that we passed last year. So I don't read this as creating any roadblocks. I don't think I'm misreading it, am I?
That's correct.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Councilman Glover.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Jameson, so we had a meeting in here, I don't know, we've had several meetings and discussed, and I think we got legal advice that we didn't have to surplus property a few meetings ago, and then lo and behold, we do need to surplus property in order to actually follow the rules that this body has passed. So that's one of the reasons I went ahead and went with this. And again, it's not binding. I get that piece of it. But there are some procedures that I think some of us, maybe not a lot of us, but hopefully some of us, do feel like we haven't done, and taking it in the process, the surplusing of the land, the proper procedures in order to get us to where we are now. Because here's what I think is happening, and I'll just go ahead and say it because I'm just, everything's brought to us, and now we have basically a 1-month timeline to try and complete everything. And this is typically the way these kind of things come about. But even the administration came back and said, oh, no, we do need to surplus the land. That's why it's actually a part of the overall package now. So again, I just urge my fellow council members, while this is non-binding, to say it does not hurt to get all the questions answered adequately, where people understand exactly what it is we're doing. Because again, this isn't a 5-year deal. This isn't a 10-year. It's not a 20-year. It's not a 30-year. This is almost a 100-year deal that we're doing with a piece of property. And so I think there's a lot of questions that still remain. So again, I just throw up the the flag to say, let's make sure we use caution as we continue down this path. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Sledge.
Thank you, Vice Chair, and thanks for letting me speak. I just one follow-up question to legal. What is the requirement regarding the surplus, just because it got brought up?
I gave some incorrect advice at the last meeting. The council a few months ago passed an ordinance requiring that leases over, I think, 50 years, the property be surplused. There were some other things going on during the time that ordinance passed, and I just didn't recall that going through the process. Once I learned that after that meeting, then I notified Mr. Jamison and Councilman Mendez that I was incorrect, and that because of that recent council ordinance, it does need to be declared surplus. The Fair Board will be doing that next week, and the council, as part of their legislation, will be doing that.
So that ordinance was passed after we voted in November of last year?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to be clear. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I have nobody else in the queue. Any further discussions on this? Ready to vote? Okay, let's go back over and make sure we know where we are. RS 2018-1356 expresses the intention of the Metro Council to suspend action on any agreement related to any lease and redevelopment of the Nashville Fairgrounds until all necessary procedures have been completed. Nobody's in the queue. Ready to vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no.
Show of hands.
Okay, so we're going to do a show of hands. All those in favor, please raise your hand.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
4.
4. Okay, all those opposed, raise your hand.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4 to 5.
So we've got it 4 to 5. So it is actually disapproved. 4 to 5, all right? All right, we are now on bills on second reading. This is BL 2018-1142 by Councilwoman Murphy. This amends the Metro Code to require notice to Metro Council members of fund requests within that member's district. I have a letter from Councilwoman Murphy asking that this measure be approved. So do I have a motion? I have a motion to approve and properly seconded. Any discussion on this? Again, we are on BL 2018-1142. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. BL 2018-1281 by Councilwoman Murphy and Councilwoman Henderson amends the Metro Code to codify a sexual harassment awareness and training requirement for employees and certain contractors. I have a letter to defer this measure to the first meeting in October. I have a motion to defer to the first meeting in October, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. Okay. BL 2018-1282 by Council Members Mendez, Shulman, Vercher, and Pridemore amends the Metro Code to establish a new section regarding appraisals of real property prior to disposition. Do I have a motion? Proper motion, proper second. Councilman Mendez.
So what this does is change what appraisals would look like when we're required to get an appraisal. Right now, there's some relatively complicated rules about when the council is presented with an appraisal for a piece of property, and this bill wouldn't change that at all. What it would change is that if we're required to see an appraisal, there would be two new requirements. One is that in addition to getting the current value of whatever the land is, we would also be required to be given a value for what the property would be after any zoning changes. So, for example, with the Church Street piece of property across from the library, rather than it just saying what the property is as it's currently zoned, we'd be required to see an appraisal for what the value would be after any anticipated changes in the zoning and entitlements. And then the second thing that it would require is sometimes I've seen that we get what's called a restricted use report as opposed to a full appraisal. And this would make it so we would have to get full appraisals as opposed to restricted appraisal reports, which have less information in them. And so with those two changes, that's what the bill would require, and I appreciate your vote on second reading.
Okay. Thank you, Councilman. I think we may have an amendment on that bill. Okay.
Sorry, I'd like to move what's in the package as amendment number B to 1282.
Okay. I have a motion.
And with a brief explanation.
All right. So I have a motion to amend and a second. Councilman Mendez, you're recognized.
So the amendment makes it so this new requirement would not apply when there was a home buyout in a flood-prone area. The whole point of in a flood-prone area is we're paying somebody what the house would be absent the downgrading to making it so you couldn't build on it anymore. So we're trying to pay them the pre-change value. And so the amendment would take that out of this requirement.
Great. Thank you, Councilman. So we're now on the amendment. Any discussion on the amendment? Councilman Glover?
Yes, Chair. If I may, I'll direct this to the sponsor on this. So I think this is a good idea. Help me understand, as far as us entering into any type of agreement, a lease, a sale of property, anything of Metro-owned property, what does this do to help further protect the taxpayers? Maybe I'm not asking the question properly, but I think the concept I like. I'm just trying to make sure I understand the full ramifications of what this bill will accomplish when it passes.
Okay. Councilman?
Sure. So I'll use the Church Street property across from the library as an example. So I've seen an appraisal report for that. First of all, it's called a restricted use report, so it already has less information. And then secondly, it compares the value to several comparable pieces of property around downtown. At least one of those properties has dramatically less zoning than what has been in media reports. And media reports has been the 20 plus stories for the parcel across from the library. And one of the comparables used is for a parcel down in Sobro near the river that has a zoning that I think wouldn't let it go over 14 or 15 stories with a tilting, slanted level of development away from the street. And the point is that when we're getting a value, any real estate developer would figure out what the value is post-zoning change, and because that's what the real value is. You know, if I have something where I can put 2 stories of development and I can get the zoning change to 7 stories of development, then the value is going to be driven off the post-zoning change valuation. You know, all the district council members that do a lot of zoning know this intuitively. You know, all the time we get deals that say, I have to get the zoning approved because it's supposed to close by X date. And built into that is the idea that without the zoning change, the buyer is not going to pay the price that's at the closing. There's inherently a different price once you increase the entitlements in the zoning. And typically, at least on significant appraisals that we've seen recently, the appraisals talk about the current value now as opposed to the post-zoning change value. And in order to tell really what Metro is giving and getting for specific deals, it's important that we know the value after the zoning change, especially since we're fundamentally in control of what the post-deal zoning is going to be. I hope that answers the question.
Looks like it. Councilman Glover is leaving. All right. Other discussion on the amendment? Councilor Allen.
Thank you. So there's an Amendment A and Amendment B. Are you offering Amendment B, the more complicated one? I mean, the one with two parts to it?
Yeah, and frankly, you know how these go. The Metro Department, Water Services, and I were working on this along with Mr. Jamison over the weekend, and B reflects, I think, the more thought-out version.
Okay, so that's the one we're, just want to be clear. Thank you.
Councilman Pulley? Okay. All right, any other discussion, Councilman Cooper, on the amended? Just on the bill as amended? Okay, I'm going to go back. I'll come back to you. Any other discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, we are voting on the amendment. It's amendment number B. All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. So we are now on the bill as amended. I am going to go to Council Lady Allen.
Thank you. Just one clarification. Will this apply to things that are beginning discussion from this point forward, or will it apply to things that are in process already?
You're on.
As soon as we pass it, it should apply for any legislation thereafter.
Even if it's like on second or third reading?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Council Lady. We've got Councilman Pulley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick question for the administration, because it's based on that last answer. Is the administration prepared to comply with this as it relates to the bills moving forward with respect to the soccer plan?
The fairgrounds appraisal that was done, I think 11 and a half months ago, was a full appraisal. What we today are in the process of doing is trying to get that appraiser to update it to make sure that the appraisal includes very current information and it covers everything that is in this legislation.
So I guess the answer is yes to my question. You will be prepared for that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't have anything further. Thanks to the councilman for working through this legislation.
All right, thank you, Councilman. Councilman Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just very quickly, I wanted to thank the sponsors, Mendez, Verger, Schulman, and Pridemore, for this important piece of transparency that I think everybody in the county thinks exists already, but needs to be put into place. Thank you.
All right. I think the credit goes to Councilman Mendez. All right. Nobody else in the queue? We are on BL 2018-1282 as amended. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. BL 2018-1283 by Council Lady Murphy. This amends the Metro Code to restrict the use of proceeds from the sale of property owned by Metro. I have a letter from the sponsor asking this measure be deferred to the second meeting in September. Do I have a motion to defer to the second meeting in September? I saw a motion properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no.
Thanks.
Got it? Okay. So the measure is deferred to the second meeting in September. And now we're on BL 2018-1284 by Councilman Kendall, Schulman, Vercher, and others. Authorizes the Department of Water and Sewerage Services to provide public water service improvements for Regent Homes proposed development, as well as other existing properties in the area. I have a letter from Councilman Kendall to approve. Do I have a motion? Got a motion properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. Any further business? I believe that's it. Any further business before the Budget Committee? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Got it? Second. We are adjourned. Thank you.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, Visit nashville.gov.